enough, Rug. That's enough.
Welcome back. As we've been discussing over the past several weeks,
You're listening to the official Reformed Stoic podcast, covering politics, philosophy, theology, conspiracy theories. I'm ready to get to the bottom of this life. Are you? Join Wolfgang, Sketty Squad, Purity Gang, as we strive to take dominion over this dying planet. I am Reformed Stoic, and this is my podcast. It's go time, baby! Let's get it. Oh, man. Wow. Wowee! This is... I don't know if I can ever cut it any closer, dude. Next step is like basically be late to the podcast. Next step is basically be late. I don't know how I can cut it any closer, dude. We're picking the articles and the videos live today. I didn't even have time to freaking... It's okay. We got it. We got it. It's good. We're good. You're good. You're good. Oh, man. Yeah, something came up last minute today, and I was like, I still want to work out and feel like shit if I skip my workout. 10 minutes jump rope. I was tempted to do my full 3 rounds boxing. I only did the 1 round where I did a Floyd Mayweather 12 straight punches and then 2 hooks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hook, hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hook, hook for a minute straight. If I would have done the full 3 rounds, there's absolutely no way in hell I would have made it on time. Rug's freaking meowing to go outside, scrambling for topics. I'm sorry, it's not a good look for me to talk. Like, I should get my shit organized. But I think the podcast is going to be good anyway. We're going to check in on Trump. We're going to see what Trump's doing with Mar-a-Lago. Man, that was crazy watching Trump's promo last night where he was like, we will not blah, we will not blah, we will not blah, and we will not blah. That's literally Hitler shit, dude. So we're going to see what's up with Mar-a-Lago, get the latest. I figured at some point we'd cover feminism. It's funny, like it's hard to cover feminism as a news topic because you just think, you know, like we look the critical theory day. No, this is completely separate microphone, completely separate headphones. But on the critical theory day, you know, there was all kinds of relevant news about that. I feel like people just aren't really talking about feminism that much in the news, but I got a couple of this and that. It'll be like halfway news, halfway just feminism in general. And then the Gospels, I don't know, something about the Gospels, bro. We'll make it work. Every day is a good day to learn about Jesus, guys. So, without further ado, what else is going on, man? I don't even know. Oh yeah, I'm trying to quit weed. You know, for the record, guys, literally every time I run out of weed, I say, "Hey, I'm gonna quit weed." Like, just don't pretend it's any different if I go buy weed tonight. You know, let's not. Let's be real here. This is what I do every single time because all it really is I just am too lazy to go to the weed store. So I'm like, yeah, I'll quit weed. Sure. It's not going terrible. There's just kind of like this ugly feeling. It's like, oh yeah, so like what's your plan for life again? Maybe we should buy more weed. That's pretty much how it goes. Anyway, life is all right. Hope everybody's doing all right. Can we news it? You're listening to the Reformed Stoic News segment. Let's go! All right. Rick, maybe you'll get a kick out of this. Somebody in my DMs who got blocked, they're playing the long game. They're trying to pretend to be my friend for a while and then eventually reveal that they're a troll. They're trying to say that Rick Perry is Carl. And he's like, bro, and I was asking him for evidence. I was like, wow, dude, you think you could, like, prove that? He's like, dude, I'm not trying to open a case. I'm just trying to tell you as a friend, bro. Rick Perry's Carl, bro. And it's like, I mean, if you have some evidence, if you're really that positive, he's like, I've been in the community 8 years. I've been in IP2 8 years. Trust me, dude. He's Carl, bro. And I was really interested to get some evidence for that. But he's just like, trust me, bro. It's like, dude, have you looked at Rick Perry's... have you looked at his Instagram? I just highly doubt that he's Carl, but... who knows? Someday it will all become clear. All right, well, we at least got this to start with. We'll keep this tab open. Let's get the Mar-a-lago. Let's go. All right, this will be easy today. Here we go. Justice Department says it found limited set of potentially privileged material in Mar-a-Lago. So basically, guys, this is a huge nothing burger. It's pissing off all Trump supporters. Biden seems like he was designed to like make Democrats lose faith in the Democratic Party. I hate to like bring my family into it, but my sister at the table the other day said that she like was coming around and that she kind of liked Trump's campaign. My sister said that she didn't like Biden and that she was considering becoming a Trump supporter. To me, you know, it's just like, man, I feel like I see exactly what's going on here. I think everything's setting up for a big Trump win. But let's just see how much of a nothing burger this is.
More on all this, and it is complicated. Let us please bring in Scott MacFarlane and Jessica Levinson. Scott is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Jessica, a CBS News legal contributor, and she is also a professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. Scott, let me start with you. How could this news impact the potential appointment of a special master, and help our audience understand what that is and what it might mean as this case plays out?
Yeah, this new filing from the U.S. Justice Department helps us get our bearings 3 weeks to the day after that search at Mar-a-Lago. What the Justice Department has made clear in this filing is that it has reviewed at least some of the items, some of the records that were taken, that were seized during the search at Mar-a-Lago 3 weeks ago today. They say a limited number of them, a limited set, could have issues of attorney-client privilege. All that does is raise the stakes this week. It makes it less clear to me exactly how the judge will rule, but informs the fact that there's a hearing Thursday of significant importance in this case. The federal judge in Florida, the U.S. District Court judge and appointee of former President Trump, appears ready to hear arguments as to whether to appoint this special master, this independent third party, this expert courts bring in when they need expertise or specialized knowledge. The Trump team wants a special master ordered, and the judge ahead of this Thursday hearing has also ordered the Justice Department to provide better or more detail about exactly what was taken during the search, a more fulsome, comprehensive list or set of details.
Apparently he had some sort of like classified documents, and he had like intel sources, and I just feel like the more time that goes on, it's just proven to be a huge nothing burger, but we'll see.
Due tomorrow. I'll tell you what, it's good that these court filings are done electronically. This week could kill a lot of trees otherwise.
So, Jessica, a lot of us are trying to peer into this, and some of it we can't peer into because it's classified and it's an ongoing investigation. The public is certainly very curious about this. The Trump legal team, deeply curious about it for lots of reasons. What about what we learned maybe Friday, over the weekend, today? Where are we? What does it enlarge our ability to comprehend where we are?
Yeah, great questions. I'll pick up on what Scott just said, which is the Department of Justice has indicated we actually...
This girl's kind of a cutie, dude. She kind of looks like one of the Who's down in Whoville. Hey, sweetie, you want to go invite the Grinch to the Who thing? Wait, the girl who did that was really young. Never mind.
looked at the documents here, meaning there's no need for a special master. We'll put a little caveat there for a moment.
Cindy Lou Who's all grown up, baby.
And what we determined is that a few, as you said, a few of these documents potentially are covered under attorney-client privilege. Now, the affidavit tells the Department of Justice what it can do in that circumstance. It can ask the magistrate judge overseeing the case, Judge Reinhart, it can ask for a determination if they actually are covered under attorney-client privilege. It can ask former President Trump to waive that privilege, or they can just decide, you know, we don't need those documents. We're never going to hand them over.
She's like a Who. She's like Cindy Lou Who all grown up, and then also Pam from The Office. Dude, she's all dressed up for work right now, but just imagine if she was dressed up in that outfit that Pam was wearing in Blades of Glory. Oh, yeah.
Over to the investigation side, the investigation team.
Respectfully, of course, please don't give me a hate strike. I feel like everything gives me a hate strike. Ah.
Now, that back to the caveat, that's what we learned with respect to documents that might be covered under one privilege, the attorney-client privilege. But when former President Trump filed this motion in a different court, asking for the appointment of a special master, essentially somebody to say, you can use these documents, Department of Justice investigation team, but you can't use these because they're privileged. The Trump team mentioned the attorney-client privilege, but executive privilege as well. So what's left as an open question is, what about potential documents that are covered by executive privilege? Two quick responses to that. One, it's a very, very bizarre way to try and raise executive privilege from a former president with respect to these documents in this way at this time. And so really what we're looking for on Thursday when we have this hearing is for the judge either to say, okay, well, I guess we need a special master because of the executive privilege claims. Again, even though I think they're very, very bizarre to say the least, or to say, I'm just dismissing your motion, former President Trump. I'm sorry, you lose, and the Department of Justice has a taint team and they've done their job here.
And Jessica, I want to pick up on one thread that you put forward there, and I think it's a very helpful one. So to think about this broadly, as I understand it, again, I'm not a lawyer, don't practice one on television, but attorney-client privilege endures. Executive privilege doesn't, meaning when you're no longer the chief executive, you don't have those privileges, and there's a process by which you have to assert them anyway. But attorney-client privilege does endure, and that's why the Justice Department says there's a legitimate assertion there, and we've tried to weigh that value of that assertion, attorney-client privilege. But in the national security context, it would be viewed differently, correct?
That's exactly right. So there are two separate tracks here. And you're right with respect to the attorney-client privilege that there is, again, to remind everybody.
I wouldn't mind if she built me a dam. Sko.
What happens when the Department of Justice goes in and they seize a bunch of different documents is that there's a separate team called a taint team, and they file and they go through and say, okay, the investigation side can't see these potentially privileged documents. Now, with respect to the national security concerns, I think you're exactly right to ask it that way, which is that is a separate track. What the Department of Justice told us is what we also heard over the weekend and last week, which is that the intelligence community is separately looking at these documents to determine whether or not they're.
I just imagined like the funniest. I'm just imagining what I'm going to say after this, and it's like, so basically, they're just like walking it back, and it's gonna end up being a huge nothing burger, and it's gonna be Trump versus Biden, and then I just imagined like Biden not even making it to the debates. He's like in the Wendy's drive-thru, he's like, Biden, we have to be to the debates in 5 minutes. I want a Happy Meal. Wendy's don't have Happy Meals. It's McDonald's. I thought Wendy's had Happy Meals. He's trying to get a Happy Meal at Wendy's. That's pretty much what's going to happen, dude. Like, Biden's not even going to be able to find his way to the freaking debate stage. And then Trump's going to win. And then World War III. Dude, we all know what's going to happen.
There are national security risks that are posed by the former president having these documents. And that's different from, again, this inquiry into the attorney-client privilege.
Scott, as you well know, there is a very large political context around all of this. And South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham offered what can only be described.
We unironically can't let Trump get the nuclear codes. Like, that's pretty much, that was the meme. We can't let Trump get the nuclear codes. And that's pretty much why the FBI raided his house. But nuclear codes.
Described as a stark, possibly alarming warning about what could happen should this get to the point where former President Trump is indicted. Let's listen.
I'll say this. If
Get wrecked,
there's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in the streets.
Riots in the streets. Scott, what is the level of concern you're picking up among either politicos or legal beagles around this whole case?
Yeah, major critics of the former president and critics of Senator Graham would say that sounds a lot like language from January 5th, 2021. I can tell you, talking to federal civil servants, the rank and file who work at these federal agencies, also to the unions and associations representing federal law enforcement agents, archives workers, they're concerned about the potential and future harassment they could face for having any touching of the sphere of investigations into former President Trump. We've seen that from January 6th. We've seen the federal judges who handle January 6th cases say they're getting vulgar, violent threats for their participation in that. We've seen that with others who've had any part of investigating January 6th, the potential for vulgar, violent threats. That is now spreading to those involved with this investigation. And the critics of the former president say words like that from Senator Graham could only fuel it.
And Scott, I mentioned earlier that lots of people are trying to peer more deeply into this case. Congress is too. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we know the Senate and House Intelligence Committees very much want to know what, if anything, was compromised with the nation's security and intelligence assets, because top secret materials were where the Justice Department says they were not authorized to be. They want briefings. They want a readout of what might have been compromised, potentially what's going on with this investigation. Members of Congress often like to be looped in when there's something going on in the executive branch, and this is no exception.
There's lots of incrementalism. There's lots of law, lots of peering into it. We're all doing it together. Scott MacFarlane and Jessica Levinson, thanks so much for helping us out.
Basically, blah, 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 blah. Trust me, like, Trump's place totally deserved to get raided, and yay. It's all such a mess. You know, I saw a thread the other day on 4chan that was trying to stir the Q narrative back up. It was like, wait a minute, I know everybody wrote off Q, but nobody really understood Q, and people are trying to get the Q timeline. People are trying to suck people back into Q. And that would be that, like, Trump is, like, trying to take down the deep state, and I don't know about that, guys. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Everything held at Mar-a-Lago was legal. It's called executive privilege. Any documents the National Archives held by a former president can be requested to be returned. Any president can and does declassify items when he deems necessary and is not required to submit forms or ask for permission to do so. He is the chief executive officer. Go tell Elon Musk he has to fill out forms personally to change the color optics for Tesla cars. Then sit back and watch him troll on Twitter. F society, let's go. Not Q again. I was talking about a joke way back in the day, like if Q was real, and like the second we all realized Q is the truth, I was like, wait a minute, what? And then all these boomers come like swinging out of helicopters, let's go, and I was like, no, but Q is fucking stupid, nobody believes Q. And then all these boomers like, I knew it, we went south, go north at the peak. And all these like Q boomers, it's like, wait a second, we're living in the Q boomer timeline, we were wrong. Q boomers were like the real movement. That's right, we got you right where we want you. Tried to tell you. Looks like DOJ knows who they're dealing with and are prepared to deal. Limited sets like the narrow scope. Search warrant lies. The Washington Times reported eyewitness accounts that Mr. Tybalt was seen exiting the Bureau's elevator last Friday, escorted by 2 or 3 headquarters-looking types. The article appears to have been updated and now states that Tybalt abruptly resigned, but that he was forced to leave his post, and cites 2 unnamed former FBI officials. Q never told a lie, baby. All right, well, what else we got here? If Donald Trump isn't supposed to have it, then it's probably at Mar-a-Lago. Cringe. Wow, dude. Matt Whitaker, Mar-a-Lago special master adds layer of credibility. Is there anything interesting about this at all? She played the part. How fake heiress infiltrated Mar-a-Lago. Sure.
New Ask the Pro.
Up front now, Michael Sala with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, one of the reporters behind this story. Michael, thank you for coming in. You quote appreciate that. You quote one Mar-a-Lago member who is a former investment banker saying this: it was the near perfect ruse, and she played the part. How was this woman able to gain such access to in Mar-a-Lago?
Well, you think about all the props. So the jewelry, the brand new Mercedes G-Wagon, the Van Cleef and Arpels bracelets, and so she played the part, and she was very good. And for all intents and purposes, she had everybody there, at least the guests, convinced she was a member of the Rothschild family.
This investigation into this woman comes 3 years after two separate incidents of Chinese nationals being arrested for entering the resort's grounds, as you note in your reporting, and we all remember. What have you learned about the security process for people to get into Mar-a-Lago since Donald Trump has left office?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because what you're dealing with Mar-a-Lago is you have a private club and you have the president's residence. And, there's a saying there: we've never had a former president, living in a hotel. And so the challenges of providing security are really difficult. For instance, you can have guests coming in and out of one part of the compound, and there's the president with his family in the other. So the whole problem is being able to provide the kind of security in the club and in the residence that protects the president and his family and all the records that were there for all that time. And so it's a difficult task. It's a juggling act.
For sure. She has said in sworn statements, this woman, in your reporting, that she's never used another name. She hasn't broken any laws. Also telling the Post-Gazette that this whole situation is some misunderstanding. At what point did Trump's security realize what was going on?
Actually, Kate, they've never found out what was going on. I think we pretty much told them. I think that had been for about a year, kind of a secret, at least among most of the people that were there. A guest that was invited there in March finally broke it to some of the president's staff and other people, like, hey, be careful. This isn't the real person you think it is. Wow. And you should probably not allow her here. Don't get involved with her in any way. That was in.
She looks like freaking Demi Moore from Ghost. That's not her. It's like a semi-younger Demi Moore.
March. So that was close to a year later.
Wow.
Demi Moore.
Bottom line, there's a quote in your piece that really stuck out to me and seems to sum it all up. The quote is, "The question is, was it a fraud or an intelligence threat?" Have you landed anywhere close to a conclusion on that?
No, and I think, as the Secret Service agent said, the former Secret Service, that's the problem. But the idea that you don't know who was there, that at any given time somebody could get into this facility under a fake name, fake identity. Think about it. She was in and out of that place 5 times in 2 days, driving in, driving out, driving in, driving out. Nobody checked her ID. Nobody knew who it was. She could have been going into Neiman Marcus.
Yeah, I feel you always, Flo. I'm trying to figure out how to approach this from the most interesting angle. I'm gonna look up FBI headquarters. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about whatever that attempted attack was or whatever. This is the worst topic ever, dude.
For all that mattered. And the president was there that weekend. So that's the challenge it faces. Is it adequately protected?
I think we're going to go hard on feminism today.
All sides.
Wow, man, this has just really got me on the edge of my seat. Let's go. Trump had some paper at his place, and now they're trying to make it sound like, oh, dude, it totally needed to be raided. He's going to have to pay a $50 fine. Here's a thought. Instead of letting him choose an unsecured resort to live in and trying to scale security up to meet the security threats, why not put him in a secure location, like a federal penitentiary, for example? LMAO, Trump's going to jail. All right, let's approach this from a different angle. Let's try Mar-a-Lago, FBI HQ. See what this pulls up. Armed man attacks FBI building after a Mar-a-Lago search. So this was 2 weeks ago. Was there any more attacks on the FBI headquarters? Mar-a-Lago affidavit shows FBI probable cause based on different witnesses. Nobody cares. Armed man who attacked. All right, well, you know what? It was 2 weeks ago, but let's go ahead and, like, we never really went over this. Armed man who attacked FBI office called for violence. Let's give it a shot.
At around 9:15 a.m. this morning, a man...
I made that joke a while ago. The guy's, like, running down the home stretch towards FBI headquarters, like, armed to the teeth. And as he's about to get shot down, he's just like, Wolfgang! I'm in Reformed Stoics Discord, baby! We did it, Smear Gang! And I'm just like, no. I have no idea who that guy is. And it's like a 6'4" Fed undercover. Let's go! Wolfgang, baby!
Man who NBC has identified as Ricky Walter Schiffer entered the Cincinnati, Ohio FBI field office and fired a nail gun at law enforcement personnel. We aren't exactly clear on the order of these next immediate events, but at the field office, Schiffer brandished an AR-15 style rifle. An alarm was set off. FBI agents responded to the attack, and Schiffer fled in his car. He drove northeast on the interstate, where he was spotted by a state trooper at about 9:37 a.m. The trooper tried to initiate a traffic stop, but Schiffer fled, and during the pursuit, he fired his weapon at the troopers. At about 9:53 a.m., Schiffer stopped his vehicle here in a rural area of Clinton County, and he exchanged gunfire with troopers as he got out of his car. That led to an hours-long standoff in a cornfield. Troopers say they tried to negotiate. They attempted to capture.
Like, dude, every time this shit happens, the manifestos are just too, like, he was a white supremacist, incel, Trump supporter, Christian. Like, it's just always exactly what they want, dude. He was an incel, white supremacist, Trump supporter, Christian, who was anti-feminism, and
capture Schiffer with less than lethal force. In the end, they shot him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Earlier today, there was speculation and fear that this attack may have been motivated by the dangerous far-right response to the FBI search of former President Donald Trump's personal residence at Mar-a-Lago. And tonight, there are new indications that that may in fact be the case. NBC News has confirmed that Schiffer
look, everybody, it's the master of disguise.
Was at the Capitol riot on January 6th, but it was his actions in recent days that are most unsettling. The day after the raid on Mar-a-Lago, Schiffer took to Trump's social media network, Truth Social it's called, and he posted a tirade calling for violence. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing here because it doesn't deserve to be amplified, but it did include things like, quote, "We must not tolerate this one," and calling for people to arm themselves and be ready for combat. Then in response...
Wait. He fired a nail gun at the FBI building? Man who fired nail gun at FBI building called for violence on Truth Social in days. Well, I'm not exactly sure. Like, that's basically like suicide by cop, dude. Why would you fire a nail gun at it? Jeez. Not saying he should have, like, done a better job. I don't even know what to say about this, dude.
Response to a reply to that post, which asked Schiffer if he was advocating for terrorism, he responded that users should kill FBI agents on sight.
Sounds like something an FBI agent would say. Sounds like something an FBI agent would say.
In response to another user, Schiffer replied, "You're a fool if you think there's a nonviolent solution." And after another user responded that his photo and info had been forwarded to the FBI, Schiffer responded, "Bring them on." Then today at 9:29 a.m., directly after the attack on the FBI field office, Schiffer posted this, quote, "Well, I thought I had a way through the bulletproof glass, and I didn't. If you don't hear from me, it's true. I tried attacking the FBI, and it'll mean either I was taken off the internet, the FBI got me, or they sent the regular."
All of these quotes, dude, I'm imagining like the giant fucking former Marine, former Navy SEAL intelligence guy. Like, I thought I was going to get through the bulletproof glass, brothers. There's only one solution, brothers. Like, this is just way too convenient, man. This is everything they want.
Cops. And it just stops there, mid-sentence. Luckily, no one but Schiffer was hurt today. NBC's Ben Collins was part of the team that confirmed the suspect's identity for NBC and dug up his social media post tonight. He's been following that story all day. Ben, amazing. You've been looking around some dark parts of the internet. I don't even know how to describe this story, but this is a guy who was fairly actively responding to the right-wing response to the search.
Yeah.
There's been a right-wing response that said this was illegitimate, and the FBI needs to explain itself. And the Department of Justice did, and this guy seems to have decided to handle it on its own.
Yeah, Ali, I want to say, the very dark parts of the internet that I go on, the neo-Nazi parts of the internet, they don't really care about this that much. But the parts that are Trump obsessed, like truly obsessed with Donald Trump, those are the people right now who are the most angry. And that's what you saw.
Interesting. He's differentiating the neo-Nazis from the Trump people. Mega hype.
Today. For example, I want to say on May 7th, this is what Ricky Schiffer posted in response to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congresswoman Greene, they got away with fixing the election in plain sight. It's over. The next step is the one we used in 1775.
Wow.
So.
Wow. And who said that? I feel like a Fed said that too. I think a Fed has said like all of these things.
He was thinking like this for a while, and then this search of Mar-a-Lago happened, and he said this is the end of it. He said we
Was that Alex Jones? 1776 must commence again.
Must not tolerate this one. That's what he said 2 days ago, and that's what led to this entire thing. So my worry is that this is not on the darkest parts of the internet. Right. I know those places. I know where the neo-Nazis hang out. I know their telegrams. I know all that stuff. This is on the.
He basically is saying that like everything's a fucking honeypot. Like, I know where all these guys hang out, and I'm in all their telegrams. And okay, so people like you who are on the news are in all of those things. There you go. By the way, guys, feds, news anchors, feds, their offices are like in the same building, dude. Operation Mockingbird, intelligence owns the news. Definitely not uncommon for a spook to be a news anchor.
Parts that are obsessed with Donald Trump. These are your neighbors. These are the people down the street who are convinced, by the way, that the IRS...
Your neighbor voted for Trump. These are real people. Your neighbor voted for Trump. Your grandma voted for Trump. There's Trump voters out there.
Hiring 87,000 new agents. That's a secret ploy for people to come and take your guns. And they're going to come any day now, so you better get armed. That's what they think.
He had posted, again, we've not repeated all of it, but you've written about it. He had posted for people to get to the gun shops and the pawn shops as soon as they can to be armed. I mean, this was real talk about war. It wasn't even talk. And there's been civil war talk in the last couple of days. And people like me think.
Notice how they haven't proved anything they said. Like, they just post quotes on the screen, and this guy's just like reading a piece of paper. And I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't Trump supporters who are like this, but dude, this shit just all happened so fast, man. And if it hasn't become clear yet, this big internet world we all live in now, it's very easy for them to use this to control everything.
That's nonsense. But the fans are being flamed in fairly mainstream conservative media about the FBI, about the Justice Department, about witch hunts, and this is where it can end up.
Well, that's the thing here. All of these people that perform these attacks, they all think they're kicking something off. They think that they are the guy starting the battle. But then they're abandoned by their own people. Already on these forums that he attended, they are saying, oh, this is a false flag. This was really Antifa. This was the FBI setting things up. Isn't it a coincidence that only he died here? That sort of thing. Even though there are months and years worth of posts, this guy was at the Capitol on January 6th. He told people...
I mean, he could have been a Fed for months and years, and he could have been at the Capitol as a Fed, and like, it just doesn't disprove anything, dude. This business has been here for 50 years. Well, maybe you guys are criminals for 50 years.
In recent months to go join your local Proud Boys, because those people know what they're doing for the revolution. They all think they're kicking something off, but the actual followers, they don't want to leave the house. They just want to support Donald Trump from home. And when people start...
Yeah, and you're pretty upset about that. It's like, come on, guys, let's get into the streets. It's like, nope, you're a Fed. You're a honeypot. I'm going to stay at home and eat chicken nuggets. No, guys, we need action. Let's not talk like that. Let's get outside, baby. Follow me, brothers.
Take it as seriously as you hear it on Fox News or as you hear it on those YouTube channels where they say this is war all of a sudden.
Yeah.
They immediately abandon them.
That's amazing that a guy went to an FBI office and tried to shoot his way into it. Ben, thanks for your coverage. It's important, as always. Ben Collins is a senior reporter at NBC News.
The theory is that if some sort of a revolution kicks off, I could imagine it like South Park, man. I imagine it like South Park, like Antifa. Real Antifa is like a bunch of skinny college kids drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. I pushed over a trash can. High five. Real Proud Boys are like, I don't know, just edgy, like neckbeards. And then there's going to be like a 6'4" former Navy SEAL, glowy Antifa. It's like, hey, what did you say to me, Proud Boy? And then there's a 6'4" glowy former Navy SEAL, Proud Boy. I don't know, brother. I don't think you should talk to me that way. Am I right, my brother, Proud Boys? I think it's time for the boogaloo. Like, it's all going to be feds kicking everything off, dude. And then they want everybody to follow. I feel like it's not even going to work, dude. The feds are going to start, like, going to some fake, you're going to pay for that, Antifa. And they're, like, doing triple fucking front flips over barricades and, like, running up walls. And they're, like, fighting this incredible war between, like, feds and Antifa and feds and the Proud Boys. And they're going to be like, I think those guys are, like, Navy SEAL bots or something, dude. Yeah, I don't think we want to die in a civil war. Nonsense, brothers. This is for democracy. This is for the future. This is everything. Like, they're going to try to start the conflict, man. They want conflict. They want a revolution. I mean, it's just a theory, but they want chaos, dude. The system. I said it the other night, man. I said it last night. Like, the people pulling the strings, they want people dead, dude. They want something that makes a lot of people die. Pandemics, civil wars, World War III. It's dark. It's dark, boyos. All right. Well, feminism, I guess. Watch. Radical feminists protesting Leah Thomas say they are politically homeless. Okay, so this was back in March. Wow. Fox News. Here we go. Fox News is definitely going to be anti-feminist.
I don't care what surgeries they have. I don't care what they inject into their bloodstream. They don't belong in women's sports.
Oh, okay. So radical feminists not wanting certain people in women's sports. I actually kind of agree with that, and I don't want to get a hate speech strike, but let's just watch it.
I was historically liberal.
I mean, I'm a walk-away Democrat.
I am a lifelong registered Democrat who ultimately feels politically homeless. It really started maybe right before Biden, but ultimately with the whole Biden election, I began to feel more and more disenfranchised from Democrats.
I would say I'm politically homeless now because I don't think the Democrats care about women and girls.
Wolfgang's ready for you, sweeties. You just found a home, sweetie. Look at these women. They're just dying to be trad, dude. Dude, I see it now. These kind of feminists who don't like the new radical left. Come home, sweeties. We got husbands for you over here.
The Democrats are not even acknowledging women as a sex class now. Now men can have babies. Men need abortion. It's no longer even a women's issue.
What's your gender? When Biden came out in the first days of his presidency with his executive order, which replaced the category of sex at the federal level with the category of gender identity, it was just it was a slap in the face. And from that moment, I really haven't known how to categorize myself politically.
I always voted as a liberal. So from 18 to like 39, 38, I registered Republican in 2020 after two
Oh, wow. How old are you, sweetie? Yikes. Never mind. Sorry.
politicians actually told me they did not want my vote because of my stance on the rights for women and girls.
That term feminism has become so muddied and so mishmash, much like the term Democrat has become so muddied and mishmash. It's practically lost all meaning.
They wanted to put men in prisons and men on sports teams, and my daughter's
I think she looks kind of young for 40s. She's not bad. Not bad.
school. And so, yeah, that's why I decided I cannot be a part of this party anymore that doesn't even recognize my sex class.
Our lifelong physical developmental process can't be reduced to a fixed identity.
I do work that supports women and girls' right to sex-based provisions like single-sex spaces, single-sex sports, single-sex prisons, single-sex rape crisis shelters.
That's why I had to switch parties, even though I don't necessarily agree with a lot Republicans do as well.
I have a radical feminist analysis in my background, but I don't like to identify myself as anything.
Kids are being taught that they have to trust what the strange man tells them about his identity before they're allowed to trust their sex.
I know a lot of historically liberal people, especially parents, who have felt like they needed to walk away from the Democratic Party. And I don't
Everybody's ready to be based. Let's go.
know who they're going to be voting for in the next elections.
Same.
I think that we're going to have a lot of people walking away.
I mean, at the risk of like triggering more glowies, what did somebody say? They want people to think everyone's an agent so people don't rise up. But I mean, what kind of rising up could there even be, dude? Like, how exactly is anybody gonna rise up, bro? And I was trying to think back while this video was playing. Like, when was the time to rise up, dude? Holy shit, when was the time to rise up, guys? I don't know if there really is a way to rise up. That sounds demoralizing, but I don't know, man. And this is the kind of stuff you quietly hash out in your head, dude. Because if you really want to create some sort of a plan like that, you better have it down pat before you start putting it out there, because they're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be infiltrated, and I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I don't know about a real uprising. We live in a time when it's deemed radical to acknowledge basic biology. God help us. Don't degrade yourself by saying you're politically homeless. You are a free thinker and find it difficult to confine your values to one or two political parties. Let's LARP it. They were sold on the future being female. Now they're scared that the Transformer Baphomet is pulling the rug from under their feet. COVID was a good time to at least resist, maybe not rise up. Everyone folded. It's already over. I see the future. In a few decades, the women will be pushed back into the house. All women jobs will be taken by Optimus Prime. Let's go. This is a call for an uprising. Brave women. We need more people doing exactly what they are doing. I feel the same as these women. I couldn't believe when Biden issued that executive order. Absolute madness. That's what I was saying yesterday, guys. They're all getting pushed right. How many conservatives are becoming Democrats right now? Oh, yeah, wow. Let's pay everybody student loans. Yeah, totally. Man, I'm riding with Biden now as a former hard conservative. Like, what's their end game? Telling you, dude, the end game is for Sleepy Joe. Like, I want a quarter. You have to be to the debates in 5 minutes, Joe. I want a quarter. I want to ride the electronic pony outside of the mall. I want cotton candy. Poor kids are just as smart as white kids. Dude, he's just, I don't know, he's out of it. Despite a backlash, is feminism losing cultural vitality? Let's figure out what the hell that means. June 20th, 2022. Terry Joel Hype.
Welcome back. As we've been discussing over the past several weeks, the country is awaiting a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court that certainly suggests the end of Roe v. Wade. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton discussed that in a new interview.
Last chance to stop the Anglo-American establishment was the 1700s. After the Jacobites failed and the British Union was established, that was the beginning of the end. Were the Jacobites based? Or were they just, like, designed to fail? The last chance was in the 1700s. Let's go. We're, like, 300 years deep in overness.
With the Financial Times, and it reads in part, the level of insidious rulemaking to further oppress women almost knows no end. Clinton says, you look at this, and how could you not but think that Margaret Atwood was a prophet? She's not just a brilliant writer, she was a prophet. Clinton adds that when she was a senator, she voted against the confirmation of Samuel Alito, one of the court's most conservative judges. I found Alito was the kind of young man who, when he was at Princeton, railed against coeducation, railed against letting women into eating clubs, and that was all in the background that I read, she recalls. He honestly struck me as one of those very self-righteous types seeking to remake society. And joining us now, co-founder and CEO of the group, All In Together, Lauren Leader, and columnist for the New York Times and an MSNBC contributor, Michelle Gold.
I mean, I definitely think if there really is like some Trump totalitarian regime coming, it could very well be civic nationalism. Civic nationalism, and I don't know, man. It's like, okay, so we defeated the Nazis in World War II. Was the end game to slowly convince our country to, like, become Nazis? But now I'm starting to think it's civic nationalist, and I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Goldberg, who writes about a changing perception of feminism. The piece is titled, "The Future Isn't Female Anymore." And Michelle writes this: The Drift, a buzzy literary journal founded by left-leaning women in their late 20s, published a series of short essays earlier this year under the rubric, What to Do About Feminism. They described an ambient feeling that feminism has been sapped of cultural vitality, even as an anti-feminist backlash is gathering momentum, and that young people especially were turning against the movement. Predictably, most young Republicans agree with the statement. Feminism has done more harm than good. What was astonishing was how many young Democrats agreed as well. Nearly a quarter of Democratic women under 50 agreed, compared with only 10% of those 50 and older. It is perhaps inevitable that a movement that was the height of fashion in the last decade would start to seem passé in this one. Feminism is particularly given to cycles of matricide. What is liberating to one generation is often mortifying to the next. As the backlash gains steam, a lot of feminism feels enervated. There's been a desperate hope among reproductive rights activists and Democratic strategists alike that the end of Roe v. Wade would lead to an explosive feminist mobilization. It's far from clear whether a political groundswell will materialize. And Michelle, I'll let you take that point another step further. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing that reaction to this potential decision? That's
now I'm imagining like some sort of a Fed mech warrior just like crushing, just like marching through a freaking army of pissed off feminists. Like now the feminists start getting radical and they trigger the feds. This could be some sort of like anime Fed robot just like crushing. What the hell are the feminists going to do against the system, dude? Everybody's getting triggered. Oh, here we go. Oh, do I even need to say anything, dude? Here we go. Let's hear what this woman has to say, dude. Her eyes are like closed smugly. She's like, none of these people are smart enough to listen to what I'm about to say. I have a PhD in women's studies and biracial marriage.
It's coming?
I mean, certainly there's a lot of anger and grief out there, but part of the genesis of this piece was trying to understand why there hadn't yet been, people pouring into the streets, why there was nothing on the scale of the Women's March after Donald Trump's election, or the just flurry of organizing that accompanied it. There's, I think, a feeling of exhaustion, despair, disillusionment right now that is incompatible with a lot of activism.
Yeah, it's funny, Lauren, later, right after I think Trump won and we had the women's marches and the pink hats, and a lot of people were like, well, what does that really mean? Oh, it meant a lot at the midterms. It meant a lot.
The pink hats meant a lot. Is she serious, dude? I think she's serious. Yeah, she looks like she's serious. Those pink hats meant a lot
in terms of women turning out the vote. But I don't see that right now. What's going on, do you think?
Yeah, well, Michelle's right. There is a lot of fatigue on the left generally, and I think a frustration among women. We're going backwards, that it feels like our political system is sort of hopeless. I think the other problem is among younger women voters, there's a lack of patience in a sense. We think we're going to get everything all at once, that by turning one election, by winning the Senate, the House, and the White House, that overnight a whole bunch of things are going to happen. And that's just not the reality of how our political system, and we've talked before about younger voters and their sort of apathy about the sense that they're not getting what they want from our political leaders. And rather than that being galvanizing to work longer, harder for the long term, it's turning them off. I also think, I think that on the left, on the right, there has been an extraordinarily effective movement over 40 to 50 years to paint feminism as a negative. And it has worked in many ways. It has always been a complicated term. It's been one that has been controversial, but that's partially because, as you see, especially now, we've talked about before on the right, this sort of rising tide of autocracy is also tied to a rising tide of misogyny. The Southern Poverty Law Center just had a poll about this.
It's just a bunch of guys who want to get laid. It's just, that's all misogyny. Well, it's not all misogyny is, but I don't know. Just a bunch of guys that wish they were skitting it. Come on, girls. Can we make the men happy?
We're seeing that there's this sort of anti-woman undercurrent in the rise of this autocratic movement on the far right that's tied to Trump. It's always been very anti-woman, and in some ways, it's working.
And so, Michelle, do you agree with what Lauren just said? Is that what's happening?
I think that's a huge part of what's happening, but not the entirety of it, because, if it was just the right, that would be scary enough. But there's the disaffection on the left, I think, is slightly more complicated. It's not just, accepting Trumpist-style misogyny, even unconsciously. It's a sense that the solutions that modern feminism proposes don't have much to say to the
I got one question for this lady. Where in the hell is Shaggy, Scooby, and where's the rest of the gang? Don't you guys have some fucking mysteries to solve, or?
That a lot of young women feel like they're facing. Particularly, I think, a sort of professional class, lean-in style feminism doesn't speak to a generation that feels like the work world in general is a site of hostility and oppression.
But Lauren, later, just to close real quick, with All In Together, what are you seeing? How are women? Is anything galvanizing them, especially younger women, or are they feeling defeated?
Well, no, I think that part of what we see in the work that we do is that when you make politics accessible, when you make it local, when you make it personal, when you give women the tools to engage with local leaders and see that they can have an impact, they turn out, and they do. And I think the big national sort of these sense of intractability in big issues can be a turnoff. But there are solutions, and the solution really is around getting engaged. And the more women get engaged in the political process, the more they turn out, the more they do see that they can make a difference, even in a very polarizing and difficult time.
Co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, and New York Times columnist Michelle Goldberg. Thank you both very much for being on the show this morning.
Michelle Goldberg, let's Goldberg it. Can we hear from the Goldbergs? Let's Goldberg it. The point of feminism was that it was supposed to give women a choice. They can work if they want, or they can choose to stay home and build a family, which is a huge job itself. Since the 90s, my mom would get insulted by feminists for marrying and staying home to raise me. This is where feminism loses the moderates, where it becomes a religious ideology. You know, guys, I really just think it was like high-speed cable modem. I remember when I was rocking dial-up, like, hey, mom and dad, can I go on the internet? Okay. Like, you could, like, be on the internet for a little bit. And I remember it was, like, so, like, I just want to be on the internet. I just want to be on the internet. But you couldn't really imagine a world. I mean, a lot of people had cable modem, like, way early. But, yeah, we were a dial-up family for a long time. And I could not imagine just infinite internet. And as soon as we got cable modem, and it was just, you know, the internet didn't hang up the phone anymore. The phone could be used and all that, and just internet forever. Like, I think that was it, guys. It's just so stimulating. It's just so overstimulating. Everybody's overstimulated by the internet. I think it's been over since then. Yikes, I'm gonna go to sleep with my cats now. I sleep with my cats, bro. It's hard. I'm a hard man. Sleeps with his cats. And my waifu. Well, yes, I do have a waifu, a silicone booty, in cats. How could you tell? Caught switching alts like a true incel. Yikes. Self-exposed. Yikes. I'm so embarrassed to be caught making fun of Spurgs. I don't care, dude. Skeet it. After hearing Michelle's take on Amber Heard and her spin on the trial in the U.S. and the trial in the U.K., I really can't take anything she says seriously. Let's go. My dog stepped on a bee, so I poop on the bed. Amber Heard at the trial. Feminism is for the equality, the greatest lie in human history. Dude. We got a guy spazzing out here. It's over for him. Men are 100 years behind women in gender issues. Let's go. 4 times the suicide rate, 75% of the homeless, more prone to addiction, prone bone hype, far more often victims of sexual assault than anyone suspected, lacking meaningful mental health, domestic violence support, etc. What do the sweeties have to say about that? Men also have 20 times the pressure. I'm sure a high percentage of that pressure comes from women, depending on the woman. Women. Okay. Start a movement that helps men. MGTOW, Manosphere, Red Pill, Black Pill. How are those doing? Feminism focuses on women's rights. Why do people hate that? It's like people want feminism to solve all these. Has nobody responded to that? Okay, start a movement that helps men. Yeah, they're all in the news. They all got labeled fucking white supremacist, hate, domestic terrorist groups, dude. Are you serious? If nobody said that, I'm going to say that. And stop calling yourself the movement of gender equality and hogging all the attention. Now! National Organization for Women fought against shared parenting being default custody. All right, yeah, I'm going to respond to this. Oh, come on. I didn't spell supremacist close enough. Supremacist. I don't know how to spell supremacist, and it's not even close. Why am I so freaking stupid, dude? Supremacist. Supreme. Assist. Like that? Supremacist. Son of a bitch. How do you spell supremacist? I'm alone. I'm dying. Okay. Okay, start a movement that helps men. They did. It's called MGTOW and Red Pill. It's on the news being labeled white supremacist and domestic terrorism. Boom! Dude, I think spelling is, like, not really that important, dude. Supremacist. Supremacist. Okay. Supremacist. Okay, whatever. I am old enough to have experienced both sides and can say that there was an awareness that happened that was really good. Women can have a career if they want it. On the other hand, I grew up in Leave It to Beaverland, the land of Norman Rockwell, with the whole family at the table for dinner at 6 p.m. on the dot. 75 plus kids on my block and a whole lot of moms I had to answer to. Everyone should experience that kind of life. It was a really good life. We were lower middle class, but rich beyond imagination. I guess what I am trying to say is that this nation lost a lot when the movement happened. There has got to be some compromise. Women need to feel good about being a stay-at-home mom again. There needs to be jobs where a spouse can support a family on one income. The long and the short of it is that we've learned a lot from the feminist movement, but maybe it's time to redefine having it all. I think that's a very reasonable comment right there. Bro, look, I'm starting to acknowledge that it's like, okay, I can just straight up see that men are starting to hate women. And I'm starting to see that men are starting to hate women because, like, women basically just want everything and they're, like, being kind of selfish, and I don't know, dude. Well, I think I do know. I just don't want to get a hate speech strike. A lot of women are just doing the stuff that incels and MGTOW have been saying for a long time, man. Hypergamy. Just hypergamy, dude. I wouldn't say incel is a movement, dude. Incel is a label. MGTOW got struck down, dude. MGTOW got censored by Facebook. MGTOW channels got weeded out. A lot of guys out there talking about how dumb and cringe MGTOW was. I'll tell you what, that's not how YouTube acted. YouTube didn't act that way. They acted like it was a threat. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is anecdotal evidence, but from what I've seen, women just don't seem to want to be mothers, or they have this delusional idea, you know? Ultimately, the true blue women, like, wanting to be mothers, I feel like if you meet the right guy in high school, you get married. If you meet the right guy in your young 20s, you get married. Like, women, a lot of them seem like they just want to party all through their 20s, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say there. I think we see what's happening, bro. And it's sad. I am not a misogynist. I do not hate women. I have not given up on women. I'm still looking for a very special sweetie who maybe just wants a man who, you know, would be a good father and who's a fun guy. I think the dream is falling apart for so many people. The American dream has just crumbled for so many people. And it's sad. If your primary focus is on careers, you are missing out on creating meaningful relationships, families, and living. Careers are important for bringing in more money so that a family as a whole can obtain safety, shelter, food, and clothing. Modern feminism focuses too much on self rather than family building. Men have an almost similar issue. It's pretty difficult to have feminism if we can no longer define woman. Oh, zing! Has the backlash begun? Really? I've been expecting it, but didn't think I'd start for another 20 years or so. Didn't think it'd start for another 20 years or so. It'll be interesting to see how far the pendulum swings in the other direction. Swing. Dude, there's a very particular brand of person that says lolcow. I don't call people lolcows. The demographic on places like Kiwi Farms is a lot of women and, Autobots or Optimus Prime type people. Has the backlash begun? Really? I've been expecting it, but didn't think... Oh, I already read that one. Didn't think it'd be another 20 years or so. Absolutely, the slide backwards has clearly started, and it takes more than tweeting or Instagram rage grievance. Everything's just wrecked, dude. There's no solution, no solution. Give me truth for my conviction. There's no solution, guys. Let's just all hold hands and watch comfy shows and just watch everything fucking go to shit. How China silenced feminist Sophia Hang. All right, this is a BBC thing. We don't need to watch that. Meghan Markle, boys should be feminists too. Yeah, sure.
Just a quick one as we're among friends. I mean, how's that bump treating you?
Very well. It's funny, I've actually been joking in the past few weeks. I'd seen this documentary on Netflix about feminism, and one of the things they said during pregnancy was, I feel the embryonic kicking of feminism. I love that. So boy or girl, whatever it is, we hope that that's the...
Hey, weren't they saying that Kiwi Farms was going to be back today? I wonder if it is. Oh, it is! Yikes. Shit. I thought it wouldn't be back up. Well, yeah, I knew you guys wanted it back up. Hey, you know what, dude? I'm just taking the high road over here. I'm taking the high road. I'm working on playing drums. I'm working on working out. I'm doing me. I'm doing my podcast. If y'all want to fucking seethe about people like me all day, then hey, you know what? That's your prerogative.
The case with our little...
The next generation of feminism is already on the way there.
At the age of 11, I had seen a commercial at the time that I found to be very sexist. And, truth be told, at 11, I don't even think I really knew what sexism meant. I just knew that something struck me internally. No one was telling me that it was wrong, but I knew that it was wrong. And I think sort of using that as my moral compass and moving through from the age of 11, being able to see...
Yeah, it is. Every single member of Kiwi Farms is a huge loser. They're way bigger losers than any of the so-called lolcows. I honestly feel bad for the people who use that site. So
that at that age, I was able to actually change this commercial before social media, before being able to, have a larger reach, just putting pen to paper. It really set up the trajectory for me to say, if things are wrong, and there is a lack of justice and there's an inequality, then someone needs to say something. And why not me? But if you have young boys as part of this conversation as well, you're moving the needle in a different way because they're not mimicking learned behavior that could be incredibly sabotaging for a young girl's potential. Because again, I think this is part of the education piece, not just for girls, but for boys and men to understand what we're talking about when we talk about feminism.
On a different note, I was considering making a video just kind of talking about like why I'm glad that I had to come forward, that my identity got leaked. I was watching through, Dead Doomer uploaded like a shit ton of videos yesterday. I watched through a few of them. I still kind of enjoy his content. It's funny, dude. It seems like I slapped him into a freaking midlife crisis. He's like, oh, I think I'm starting a new direction or deleting my channel or what am I going to do from here on my channel? And I'm deleting my Discord. He deleted his Discord. He's talking about making a new channel. And Dead Doomer is like reevaluating his entire life. It's like, damn, dude, I really spanked you up in that in that freaking discussion. But his channel right now reminds me of how my channel used to be. And I'm not just trying to say that I've evolved and I'm completely better, but his identity isn't out there. And I was trying to think like, why did my channel like evolve? And why did I change? I think part of it is because I had to come forward and show my face and like be myself. Like now people know who I am. Now people see me. And that started a process, dude. When I came out from behind the veil and people saw my face and people saw who I am and people figured out who I am, it started an evolutionary process. I'll be honest with you, dude. A lot of the black pillars on YouTube, the fact that you guys are like hiding your identity, I think that's a lot of what's keeping you stuck. I mean, it's a big risk to show who you are, but yeah, it's a risk, man. And I ultimately wanted to keep my identity concealed, but I didn't. And I had to come forward and take responsibility for what I believe and who I am. And now that I have done that, I think I've become something very special. And I feel like so many people on YouTube would be devastated if their identity leaked, and you'll never get the opportunity to go through the evolution that I did. I think part of the reason I became better is because I had to be Jake Shields giving his opinions. Like, I have to be me debating people. I have to be someone who has things to lose. Like, I have to take responsibility for my beliefs, and I believe that it made me a better person, and it made my channel better.
Again, it's not just about girls going to school and becoming smart girls. It's knowing that those smart girls become influential women, and that ends up changing the world for the better. And having men part of that conversation to say, there's nothing threatening about a woman coming up to the same level. It's our safety in numbers. This is our power and our strength as a team. So, and that's gender neutral, if you really think about it. So I hope that men are part of the conversation. My husband certainly is. We have a responsibility as well, that if we're part of social media, if we're engaging in that way, that we are not just giving people more things to chat about, but actually something to do. Exactly. And that's why I say, what's the call to action? A hashtag is not enough, right? So you say, great, you can make a donation. You could sponsor a girl, with Minima Healer through Queen's Commonwealth.
Or maybe you could give me $1 million because you're rich, and I'm not.
Trust through so many of these organizations with CAMA, CAMFED, to be able to say, this is a tangible thing that I can do that will enable this girl to stay in school for a year. That's something you can do. And then I'll put my feet up, because that's a deserved treat, especially at this stage of pregnancy.
Yeah, let's all give random women money to go to school. Let's go. Yeah, I didn't pay attention to like anything, dude. Feminism and shit. Let's all be feminists, guys. Skitty. Your body is your body, and as guys, our money is our money. Today, feminism is about hate against men and absolving women from accountability. Can't see that comment. At 70 years old, I remember my childhood where my parents always said that my brother was good in math and I was good in English. This was despite the fact that my achievement test score in math were exceptionally good. In high school, I was forbidden to take the most advanced math class because my brother was good in math. By that time, I had had a decade of this line and knew how much trouble I would be in if I objected. Oh, it's a woman. She had to pretend she wasn't good at math because she was a woman. Okay. So impressive. I wish some of the feminists here in the U.S. would take this approach to feminism. All I got out of that video is she's like, pay for a girl to go to school. I see so many public figures who act as if women should have special treatment instead of equality and respect. They are also so abrasive and combative when speaking about it. It really annoys me when I see public figures act this way, and I'm a feminist. 100. All right. Where are the feminist groups? Yeah, gut feel, dude. This guy is like just not really that funny at all. Norwegian feminist faces jail time in Norway for stating the obvious. That's the Tucker Carlson face. The classic Tucker Carlson face. Pay equality debate gets heated. 4 years ago, Why is this 4 years ago? Because women are completely outcompeting men in like every way, shape, and form now. Yeah, see, it's all ancient history, dude. I mean, this can be part of the segment. Like, nobody's talking about feminism right now. 4 years ago, 3 years ago. We have to use the filter. Because it's cringe. Like, all of their points have been refuted by reality. Women are like a supreme elite caste at this point. Andrew Tate and anti-feminism. TikTok under pressure to remove misogynistic content. Is this news? SBS news? I feel like this is risky. Let's do it.
I will not administer CPR unless you're a hot female.
The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less. Put the knife down. Use it to go make it damage. 9% of the world's problems will be solved. Female.
We have gotten so far for women and men to get
Holy shit, it's Iggy Azalea.
out of the stereotype. And these kids are acting like the things that he's saying is like revolutionary.
Controversial topics are always going to attract more interest, whether it's good or bad engagement. So agreeing or having, arguments in the comments section, and all that engagement is going to promote the post itself. Social media plays a big role in the lives of all young people and of people of all ages at the moment. And it might be a place that young men are going to find those role models around what it means to be a man. And that's perhaps why people like this gain so much prominence so quickly and why it's a concern for us. But social media isn't the be-all and end-all of young people's lives. So we have to avoid promoting too many moral panics around online spaces, because what that does is ignore the fact that young people also actively seek out and engage with positive content. Whether we like it or not, young people have agency online, and rather than trying to hide these perspectives from them, we need to educate them and we need to empower them to know better and to do better. We can't shut down all misogynistic discourse. It's going to pop up all over all the time, and we need to focus our energy on educating young men about gender norms and equipping them with the knowledge to be critical of these perspectives of their own volition and understand the harm they can cause. So again, it's important that we view it in the context of the bigger picture and think through what are the roots of the issue, rather than focusing solely on regulating social media platforms as the solution to these sort of wider social issues.
It's so over, dude. 1-800-RESPECT. If you or someone you know is impacted by sexual assault, call 1-800-RESPECT. RESPECT. Y'all know what it means to be. Comments are turned off. I wonder why that is. Hey, they're doing what she said. They took the first step. They banned the comments to this video. Good job, guys. We did it. Woo! You see, guys? You see how we can just, make anything entertaining? Yeah, I got a little caught up today. It was a little bit late starting my workout. So, comparing the Gospels. Let's try to find some interesting ways to cover the Gospel topic. The 4 Gospels, a quick overview. Let's getty. Based Ed Sheeran. This is like if somebody stretched out Ed Sheeran, dude. Made him taller and lanklitter.
Hi friends, I'm Jeffrey, and right now I want to talk about the 4 Gospels in the Bible. Now the 4 Gospels are the majority of any sort of written work that we have on who Jesus was, what he said, what he did, and what happened as a result of those things. We have 4 books in the Bible that explore this, and we're going to take a really high-level look at those 4. Now, if you're new to the Bible, then you might be wondering, what is a gospel? Why do we call these books gospels, and what does that mean? So, before we delve into the 4 Gospels, let's talk a little bit about what a gospel even is. So some things to keep in mind. Gospel literally just means good news. And we'll get into the specifics of what that good news is in just a minute. But that's why these books are called Gospels, because they tell good news. The good news is of the story of Jesus, his life, the things he did, the things he said, and then his death and resurrection. An important thing to keep in mind with the Gospels is they're all written from a theological standpoint. This isn't 4 different journalistic accounts of the life and works of Jesus. No, these folks put together the stories of Jesus in a way to communicate their own point to a certain audience. And so you're going to find things that are out of order, events that are out of order. Some of the dialogue changes a little bit from gospel to gospel. And that's because what the authors were trying to do was make a theological point. They were really more trying to teach people about God and his relationship with people as the Christian faith sees it, more so than trying to give a line-by-line journalistic or wholly historical perspective on who Jesus was. So that's an important thing to keep in mind while you're looking at the Gospels. Now, if you spend a lot of time in church or with Christians, then you'll hear people talk about the gospel. And the gospel is not one of these 4. The gospel is the simple message of Jesus, which goes a little something like this. There's a person named Jesus. The God of the Jewish faith and the Christian faith very early on endorses Jesus as his son. He says, "This is my son. I'm pleased with this person. I approve of Jesus." And then from there, Jesus goes on to work miracles. He shares wisdom with the world. He opposes the oppressors. He stands up for the sick and those that are downtrodden. And then he's killed. He is crucified on a cross. 3 days later, he rises from the dead. And that is the story of Jesus that is called the gospel. The early church, the first group of Christians, spread this story, and more people came to believe that Jesus was this endorsed person who rose from the dead, and the story spread. So when people talk about the gospel, that's more of what they have in mind. Now, this gets a little confusing. The 4 Gospels are all telling the gospel, but everyone has their own perspective and their own message that they're bringing to the table. And some of that depends on just who the person writing it is. Some of it depends on who they're writing to. So let's look at these in a little bit of detail. First gospel in the New Testament is the Gospel according to Matthew. This is Matthew's Gospel. Now, the book itself never says, "I'm Matthew and I wrote this gospel." But according to church tradition, this was written by a very close follower of Jesus called an apostle who is named Matthew. And so in Matthew's Gospel, he presents Jesus as the King of the Jews. Matthew was a Jewish person. And so a lot of this gospel focuses on the teachings of Jesus and how the person of Jesus and the things he said and the things he did interrelate with the sacred texts and traditions of the Jewish faith of his day. So that's a core element to Matthew's gospel. Jesus is the King of the Jews. Now, the second gospel is Mark's gospel, the gospel according to Mark. This is really interesting because Mark was not a close follower of Jesus. Instead, according to church tradition, Mark took notes from the apostle Peter. Peter was with Jesus for most of the run of his earthly ministry. And so, according to tradition, Peter was aided by Mark. You can read a little bit about the relationship between Peter and Mark in a letter that Peter wrote to the church. It's very, very brief. And so you have Mark assisting Peter, pulling together his notes and recollections of what happened with Jesus, and then making this gospel. This is the shortest gospel. It may have even been written to be memorized and then just spoken aloud as like a sermon or just a proclamation. It presents Jesus as someone who suffers on behalf of all mankind, or the suffering servant. It shows Jesus' authority. A lot of emphasis on Jesus being the Son of God, and he's valid to make those claims. And Mark's gospel was probably the first one to be written. There's a lot of scholarly conversation around this, but Mark was probably used as a source when Matthew was writing his gospel, and then when Luke was writing his gospel. So let's talk a little bit about Luke. Luke is interesting because as opposed to Matthew and Mark and John, Luke is a Gentile, which is what the Bible calls non-Jewish people, like me. So Luke is really interesting. Luke was a first century physician. You can read a little bit about his relationship with the Apostle Paul in the Bible. Paul wrote a lot of the other documents in the New Testament, by the way. And what Luke did was he had a friend named Theophilus, who was also not Jewish and wanted to know a little bit more about the life and ministry of Jesus. So what Luke did was he interviewed some people, sought out some already written sources, and put together a biography of Jesus for this person, Theophilus. And in this biography, Luke presents Jesus as a savior for all people, which you can understand a non-Jewish person would want to say to another non-Jewish person. Like, yes, this is someone who fulfills the Jewish law and prophets, but he's also here for the good of all people. So Luke talks about that. It's a very, very educational piece. He does his best to arrange the events of Jesus' life in chronological order so that it's easy for Theophilus to understand, oh yeah, okay, so this is the Jesus that I was taught about. It's the only gospel with a sequel, and that sequel goes by the name of Acts. It's the 5th book of the New Testament, and it comes after John's gospel. We'll have to cover Acts in another video. Luke's is the longest gospel, by the way. John's gospel.
At this point, Luke is the one that I know the least. I just recently got through the Gospel of Mark. I feel like Matthew is the one that I've gone back to. Matthew and John, I've gone back to those since way back in the day. I got the virtual book of John's Gospel on DVD. Matthew and John were just the ones I've been exposed to the most. Recently got through Mark. I'm going to have to read through Luke next.
Is really interesting because his material is pretty unique. Let's talk a little bit about that. So up until now, we've gone through Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And all 3 of these books cover roughly the same material. They rearrange some of their points here and there, but for the most part, they're telling the same story in really similar ways. So they are called the Synoptic Gospels. They cover the same material. John does not. A lot of the stuff that John writes about you can't find anywhere else in the New Testament, which is really interesting. John's Gospel presents Jesus as God. He says that Jesus was present and conscious at the beginning of the world. He presents Jesus as an eternal being. And he writes this gospel to inspire other people to believe in him. He focuses on the signs or the miracles that Jesus performed, and also very significant statements that Jesus made about himself. And so by going through those, John kind of wraps up his gospel and says, I've put all this together so that you'll believe in Jesus too. So it's a very persuasive gospel, and it's usually something that Christians will recommend to folks who have never really read the Bible before as a good place to start, because it doesn't really rely on people necessarily knowing a lot about the Bible. So it's a cool thing about John's Gospel. That's a really high-level view of the four Gospels, which begin the New Testament. There's a lot more to say about each of these, and I'm going to make a video for each one of these soon. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more whiteboard videos like this about the Bible, go ahead and hit subscribe. I'll appreciate it, and hope you enjoy learning more about the Gospels. Thank you.
Yeah, not bad info there. Yeah, you know, knowing the difference between the four Gospels and comments turned off. Ruh-roh. Knowing the difference, knowing the different emphases, you know. Hey, if nothing else, just read them, man, for sure. And I'm definitely going to be hitting up Luke next, but I'm still going through the Old Testament. Y'all know what it is. Book of Judges right now. Paul's celebration of the Eucharist in Acts and the associated miraculous occurrences. Interesting. All right, guys. Well, today was a little bit really scrambled today. Got here a little bit late. I didn't even have like the topics picked by the time I went live with the music. But we did it. We had an interesting podcast. Y'all are the best. We're still doing 3 a week. So next podcast is Wednesday. We'll do a chill stream tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to stay the course, staying off of weed. Maybe I'll try to scrape my grinder one more time tonight. We'll see what happens. I think I'm going to hit 8-minute abs. I didn't have any time to do abs or any calisthenics. I'm throwing some 8-minute abs. Get that rock in, and then just try to keep it grilling tonight. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, just an hour and a half today. We play it by ear. As long as we go at least an hour and a half, it's a full podcast, baby. Let's go. God bless, guys. See you tomorrow.